We are about to begin our press conference. It is going to be addressed by Comrade Ambassador Mchangwa, and I'll hand you over to him now.
Thank you, gentlemen and gentlewomen of the press. As usual, we start by saluting the fact that you could come to our headquarters, the headquarters of the Permanent Zimbabwe Revolution, to hear the progress which is being made by our leader, Comrade President Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, in the handling of national affairs, in the handling of, first in the handling of party affairs, secondly in the handling of national affairs, and the geopolitical impact which he is beginning, which is beginning to gather pace as his policy of engagement and re-engagement crescents, and also as his mantra, enemy to none, friend to all, begins to take root in the interaction of Zimbabwe at both bilateral and multilateral level. Clearly an emerging statesman of stature on the global stage. So we are happy that you are here today in your numbers, and we never take it lightly that you could be elsewhere. You probably would be invited by our opposition, but we have not seen them ever doing something similar to what we do here. It looks like they are running out of steam, which is as it should be. So when you come here, we don't take it lightly. We also believe that as patriots, you take our message seriously. That's why you pay more attention to us. The People's Party Conference of Zanu PF will be held next month. The party leadership under the Secretary General, under the Chairman, National Chairperson of the party, Comrade Opa Mchinguri Kashiri, as well as the Secretary General, Comrade Obet Mpofu, they have been very busy working on this party conference. One thing you can be sure of is that Zanu PF is a part of organization. Organization is in our DNA. We owe it to history. It's a product of our historical march since the 1960s, when the National Liberation Movement was born in Zimbabwe. So because of that appetite for organization, we promise you a very, very successful National People's Conference. And there's already a lot of excitement by our membership. I think you can see the debate which is going on within the party. People vociferously expressing their views on different aspects of the party. And in this instance, we are a democratic party. We always remind people that when a nation purposely sacrifices lives so that it could become Zimbabwe again, these are people who made conscious decisions. And conscious decisions belie that they are being made in a democratic manner. So the ethos of democracy is ingrained in our history of the struggle. We made democratic decisions to sacrifice and paid a heavy price for that. So in this vein, we very much, as the party, welcome the robust debate which is going on across a variety of issues. And we promise a very lively conference, but at the same time, a conference which will see the party being accounted for by its membership as to how it is delivering the Zimbabwe which the Zimbabweans want. This is what will be at that conference. We are determined to restore prosperity and glory to the people of Zimbabwe. This is the focus of that conference, and the mantra, the motto, everything will revolve around that aspect of growing the economy, delivering prosperity, and restoring the glory of this country. I never cease to remind that in sub-Saharan Africa, the testament to what Zimbabwe has been in the past, you just need to go to Masvingo, you just need to go to Danamombe, you just need to go to Kami in Bulawayo, and 200 other great Zimbabwe, starting with Mapungubwe in South Africa, which is part of our civilization. So we go back a long way. So when we aspire to glory, it's only answering to what we have been in history, and I will be making allusions to that as we go on. So this is the People's Conference. Right now we are much more focused on the organization of it, but I've also mentioned on the robust debate which is going on within the party about the performance of the party and about the future direction of the party, with people aspiring, expressing what they would wish the party to be. What we can assure you, of course, of the democratic ethos, we never muzzle debate in Zanu PF. We don't muzzle debate. We allow the full flower of the people's views. But at the end of the day, the party will then take a considered view, and the president and his Politburo will chart a way forward which always ensures continuity to the party of prosperity which he has charted since 2017 with the Second Republic and Operation Restore Legacy. So this is the footpath which we are following come the People's Party Conference. But the organization is impeccable. You saw it on SADC. We delivered a clockwork orange summit. Everything worked as Zanu PF should be. I remind you, we are a party of organization. You don't win a war, a modern war, against the foremost imperial power, the cat's paw of the British, the Rhodesian army, unless you get organized. So, organization is at play. That's the People's Conference. We also want to highlight the progress which our president is making on the regional stage, also, and on the global stage. Last time we congratulated the president on a very successful SADC summit and his chairmanship. He has been winning kudos from his colleagues. We see a lot of work going on in our various embassies as our ambassadors take on the role of being the regional chairmanship of SADC in the various countries in which they are. We are an organization of neighbors. We are an organization of friends. We are an organization, a Pan-African organization. But beyond that, I emphasize we are an organization, the only regional organization in the world with a shared political soul, which comes from our common struggle as we trained to build a modern army during the national liberation stage of the armed struggle. That's where we come from. So, as Zanu PF, we are at home with all our fellow national liberation movements. When they are in challenges, we are there with them. And when they are in elections, we are there with them. And when there is need to celebrate, we are also there with them. And you saw it a couple of months ago. Madagascar became independent, and our president made it a point to go to Antananarivo to attend the inauguration of President Ravjalina from Madagascar. And you saw Madagascar play a very, very prominent role during our deliberations of the summit in Zimbabwe. This is the bonds which we want in the sub-region. And even when the president was in China, SADC heads of states made it a point to come and pay respects to him and discuss issues of regional importance with him, which is, of course, due diplomacy in light of the fact that Zimbabwe is now the chairman. So we are determined to discharge that role on behalf of SADC and take it to another level in terms of the same pursuit which I mentioned earlier on, delivering prosperity to our region. There is no region which is better poised to take advantage of the paradigm shift in global mobility from fossil fuels to new energy, electric batteries as well as hydrogen fuel. In both categories, hydrogen fuel cells and new energy electric batteries, SADC is singularly well positioned by geological fate. When it comes to new energy electric batteries, lithium, you know about the story of Zimbabwe. Cobalt, you know the story of DRC Congo. It supplies 70% of the world cobalt. Yes. Yeah. Cobalt, you know DRC, the role which it plays. All the trucks which you see coming through Zimbabwe are carrying cobalt for exports to the battery producing regions of the Far East. For these batteries to work, they need to conduct electricity. And the best conductor of electricity, for those who went to physics, through physics, is copper. And both Zambia and the DRC, our neighbors, they are now supplying 40% of the world copper. These are our neighbors. We have also the requirement for graphite. This battery, which is also the same battery which powers the new electric vehicles, but on a larger scale. It requires graphite as a mineral. Zimbabwe has got graphite in Karoi, all you know about Lynx mine. But more exciting is the fact that Mozambique is the largest graphite mine in the world, in the Cabo Delgado region. Then it comes to manganese. South Africa is big in manganese. This is another mineral in the electric battery chain. Then it comes to nickel. Madagascar has got huge resources. So the whole ecosystem of new energy electric batteries has something to do with SADC countries. So we do now fully appreciate our role in the paradigm shift to new energy, green energy, mobility. When it comes to hydrogen, again, the most important catalyzer is platinum. And you know that Zimbabwe and South Africa hold the rooster in terms of global platinum resources. We are number 1 and number 3 in the world, platinum group metals. So whichever way the future of new energy mobility moves, you have to call the SADC address. This resonates with our president's new role, which is industrialization, because we are on the cusp of a major industrialization drive as the global technology centers vie for the attention of SADC. It's happening now that for the first time in America's engagement with Africa, America is building a railway line for an African country. It has never happened. There's a railway line going on now being sponsored by America between Angola, DRC and Zambia. This is something which America never thought of in the past. And in the same vein, I want to say the new American ambassador seems to be hitting the right buttons. Our president authorized our acting president to make sure that he meets with the new American ambassador because of his schedule was in China, so that we can take the relations between Washington and Zimbabwe to another level. And just yesterday, the same ambassador, Ambassador Pamela Tremont, was meeting our Minister of Women Affairs, SMEs, and community development. This is a good thing. Our president has always said we are an enemy to none and a friend to all. And we are there to engage with our historical partners, but also to re-engage with those who may not have seen eye to eye with us over certain periods. It's normal, it's inevitable in the course of history that you have disagreements along the way, but eventually people have to find each other out. So we see the signs coming from the American ambassador of engaging with Zimbabwean political leadership and government leadership as a good thing. By the way, I had the pleasure of receiving the Chabata affair at Zanu PF headquarters last year. This is a good thing. We are very happy. We never made America be what it is. They hold an inordinate sway in every aspect of human socio-economic endeavor. And there's just so much which Zimbabwe can gain by just being on the right side with America. And our president has given instructions to that effect. Yes, President Becky the other day, he made reference to the role of the third force during the riots against foreigners in South Africa, the xenophobic riots. We are very happy that the liberation movement, of which I made an allusion to earlier, is bring out the truth that all these things, they never look as simple as the opposition at home would like us to believe. There was a third force. And the third force hankers to the past when the West was the dominant player on the African continent. We don't need to constantly remind of slavery, colonialism, partition of Africa, and the neo-colonial project in Africa. So when he speaks of a third force, these are the elements at play. But look, it's good that the history is coming out. It is also a call upon our local opposition to say, rinemanyanga hariputirwi. Zvinozongobuda chete zvamaita. More so when the people behind the third force shift their geopolitical and diplomatic positions. The truth is coming out because there is no more interest probably in the West, in Washington, in London, in Paris, in Brussels, and in Berlin. There's no more interest to continue to pursue the same path. There may be no more interest. So when paradigms shift, the waters expose what had been happening in the past. When the riverbed shifts, you see what has been going on in the past more clearly. But it vindicates what we Zanu PF have always said. But that as it may, we are much more focused on the present. We have no reason to dwell to the gripes of the past about what was done to us. It arrests our progress. As you know, our president never looks into the rear view mirror, our president. He looks always in the windshield as to where we are going. That's why in all the First Republic changes which has gone on, there has never been an effort at trying to settle scores by our president. He says there are 24 hours in a day, and all those 24 hours I devote them to the progress of Zimbabwe. If I start looking at setting scores, then I take some time off the 24 hours and I look through the rear view mirror, and then it distracts my attention away from the task at hand. So we are not going to be dwelling on who said what among the big powers during that period of time. We are more focused on the fact that they want to embrace Zimbabwe, and these are powerhouses, these countries. They are investment partners, they are technology partners, they are also markets which we need for our people as they carve out a new role as a major production center on the African continent in a variety of ways. So when you begin to be productive, you focus on things which make sure that you have access to the market. And trying to revive old grudges is not a way we develop markets. And I want to assure you, I sometimes can be quite generous in my wording on many issues, but the president, from the day he gave me this job, he says we are there to make friends regardless of what may have happened in the past with the big powers. We have no reason to perpetuate gratuitous quarrels with big centers of power on the global stage. We are only 16 million Zimbabweans. We are in the center of Africa. We are land-linked because we are landlocked. So we are land-linked. We thrive on the base of relations with our neighbors. We also thrive on the base of relations with everybody on the global stage, regardless. So we will not be enamored to our past. We are definitely focused on the future, and the president's diplomacy on the global stage to date attest to that. So on Sunday, you heard the news, we will be having Munumutapa Day in Masvingo. This is an event which will be headlined by our president. The delivery which I have made to date, they focused on prosperity for Zimbabwe. I made earlier on a reference to the glorious days. It's always known that. We also had our intelligence. We could have made a lot of noise about that, but we understood the challenges of South Africa's transition to independence. They did not fight the extent to which we did, so their state had gone through the processes of being transformed. So along this way, there may have been leakages or there may have been weaknesses in the South African state system at that particular time. And with the historical preponderance of the West, they were in attempts at manipulating the new state of South Africa against even the wishes of the ruling party, against the majority. You can see it has always been the case that South Africa's opposition talks as if Zimbabwe is still Cecil John Rhodes' country. I last time made an allusion to the Cecil John Rhodes syndrome. Everybody who is on the payroll of the dark forces which don't want African process in South Africa is given a microphone to say something about Zimbabwe. Everyone in South Africa who is on the payroll, they have got enough issues which they could be talking about their own country. But those who are in the payroll, once they get a microphone, they are told, you get the microphone on condition that you say something bad about Zimbabwe. So these are the challenges which were faced, and I am glad that former President Mbeki, a cadre of the liberation struggle, is now coming out and opening the can of worms and pointing straight finger at our opposition. Remember, our opposition has also been always attacking Mbeki. He should do this. They want Mbeki to be the Governor General of Zimbabwe. They have no respect for the territorial boundaries between the two countries. The ANC should do this about Zimbabwe. We used to host the ANC here, and they would go back and say, they are being told to become your governors in Zimbabwe. We will not do that, because that's why earlier on I made a reference to acquiring a political soul during the National Liberation Movement, when we shared camps in Tanzania, Angola, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa. So we have a political soul. So this is what Mbeki is riding upon, to expose the opposition. By the way, the opposition has no roots except those of which it has been given by the West. They don't have any roots. That's why they've splintered and fissured and disappeared. Now I don't even know whether there's anybody to accuse, because the opposition no longer exists anymore. I mean, there's somebody to accuse, but there's nobody to finger point it, because history has dispensed with them. Mazon, zvitadza zvako zvinozokubata even wafa wakumakuva waparara, unoona zvitadza zvako zvakuya zvifumurodzi, mabasa akaita ndehaya, mabasa akaita ndehaya. So this is the story which Comrade Mbeki is bringing out into the open. We know the dark forces which are at play, but like I said earlier on, our president is fixed on the windshield, where we are going. He is not fixed on the rear view mirror. So we are not going to make an issue about the countries which may have been behind the manipulation of our opposition. We definitely will continue to remind Zimbabweans kuti mavaona vanhu venyu veopposition ndo vaida kutsvagirai kuti vana venyu vapondwe kuSouth Africa kunzi zvikonzi South Africa ngaipindire muZimbabwe. Saka kana uine munhu akakuwara mazuva iwayo kana une chawakaitwa, ziya kuti PO box inonzi MDC, ziya kuti PO box inonzi CCC. ndokwaibva zhowe rese. I'm speaking in Shona because this is real much more for us now a domestic issue. We are not going to try to continue to globalize this issue. Like I said earlier on, we are not here to perpetuate gratuitous quarreling with the top regional and the top global powers of this world. What is happening now on the global stage in terms of the geopolitical shift, where Asia is the driver of the new energy revolution, where Asia is the driver of the food revolution, and Indonesia vari kuda vakufeeda vanhu 400 million nechikafu vari kuda kuZimbabwe. These are the drivers of the new world economy, the middle class which is coming out of Asia. And Africa is a young population which has got opportunities to seize, to supply the goods and services which are now required in the new world economy. This is where we are focused. And there's a role to play by the original economic powers in the world. America, when I say economic capital, those who had an advantage of access to capital and who could then have excess capital to export. America is there, you cannot take it away. Europe is still the leader in many aspects, though it is, trying to unite in many more ways than one. And then there are the Japan, they've always been there. We cannot take the role out of the one global stage. So we are not there to take issues with those countries about what may have gone wrong in their role in Zimbabwe in the past as they try to seek regime change. We are there to seize new opportunities with these countries because they remain a vibrant, important market for technology, for capital, for innovation, for management services, and most important, for markets. We need them. So hatisikuda kunyanyobatikana to point diplomatic fingers. Asi vedawa kungoti havachipota imbototarisana maziso maizviitire because ndo basa ravo irori makaona paSADC. And why they do it? I only said good day and everyone likes people to be free. I then call for people to be free. Zanu PF I thought Zanu PF would have gone kudos for making that suggestion. But anyway, I emphasize, we only call because Zanu PF does not. We run the government through the president. Ministers are not answerable to this building. Ministers are not directly answerable to this building. They are directly answerable to this building through the president. So decisions about the administration of justice, they are made at cabinet by the president, not in the Politburo Bureau of Zanu PF. I don't know press briefing Tuesday. Panobuda vamuswere vachipa press ndopatinoziva kuti zvabva isusu chete ndechekuongorora tiri kuno kuti takapiwa mandate nevanhu zviri kuitwa here, toitawo people's conference iri kuuya iyi, ndopatinozosangana nemaministers ovabvunza kuti marksheet yenyu yezvamamuchiita isusu vanoita mamanifesto eparty vanhu vari kuti zvakati zvakati. That's why the people's conference is there to take note. We have an arm's length relationship with the cabinet. And that arm's length goes through the umbilical cord of our president. But at the same time, we are also free to express views on any particular issue. And when we express them, it doesn't mean we are giving directives. No, we don't. It's mischief to even allude to that. But that as it may, we are very happy with Wagaburitsko. We are always happy with Wagaburitsko. In any case, the event yakapera, so Wagaburitsko. I think.